All right. So, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I've been one present here today. I'm Sofea Zyra from Ikhlas, and today you will all be learning how to develop animations using Scratch. So, your mentor today will be none other than Nick, Erina, Aislinn, Fathi, who's also from Ikhlas. So, without further ado, I would like to call upon Iman Hanan to recite the prayers.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Umul Kitab Al-Fatihah. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma innaka khalaqul azim, innaka sami'un alim, innaka ghafurur rahim, innaka rabbul arsyil azim. Ya Allah, Engkau lah yang punya segala kepujian, Engkau lah yang berhak menerima segala kepujian, Engkau lah yang berhak menerima segala kesyukuran, Engkau lah yang memiliki segala pemerintahan. Dengan Engkau segala kebajikan, kepada Engkau lah kembali segala urusan. Allahumma ya karimu ya rahim, cucurilah rahmat dan rahimu ke atas majlis animation development by Scratch yang diadakan pada hari ini. Berkatilah ia dari awal hingga akhirnya. Ya fa'alu lima yurid, kami juga memohon perlindungan daripadamu dari segala perkara yang boleh mencatat kecelakaan majlis kami dan daripada segala perkara yang melalaikan kami dan berbuat taat kepadamu. Kepadamu juga kami serah segala urusan kami. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. Alhamdulillahil alamin. Amin.
All right, thank you, Hanan. Now I would like to call upon Adif Adam for a few words.
Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi saya ucapkan kepada semua pelajar-pelajar Kolej Sains Melaka. Saya Adif Adam dan saya merupakan pengurus projek aktiviti ini. Semasa saya tingkatan 1 dulu, itulah pertama kali saya diperkenalkan dengan Scratch. Semua perkara amat baru kepada saya dan banyak sangat saya belajar dengan Scratch ni. Dari basic hingga saya boleh menghasilkan games, quiz dan animasi. Selain dari itu, Scratch juga dapat meningkatkan imajinasi dan kreativiti saya dalam penghasilan sebuah animasi. Dari segi pengaturcaraan atau coding pula, saya amat bersyukur kerana disebabkan Scratch lah saya mula meminati coding kerana bahasanya bermula seperti ABC. Saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Kelab Komputer KYSM kerana memberi kesempatan kepada saya untuk menganjurkan aktiviti ini. Dengan adanya aktiviti ini, saya berharap agar anda semua akan menjadi lebih mahir serta minat akan bidang pengaturcaraan itu bertambah. Lebih-lebih lagi dengan aktiviti interhouse yang sedang berlangsung anjuran Kelab Komputer KYSM juga yang akan menggunakan Scratch dengan tajuknya Sustainable Development Goals. Itu sahaja daripada saya. Sekian, terima kasih.
All right, thank you, Adam. Now, a little bit of background history on Erina. She has actually worked on multiple projects, and that includes making games, but she has also made a couple animations, one of which was shown in the Great Hall during a union night, and we will be showing it now. This animation will give you guys like an idea of what you can be able to create using Scratch. So, without further ado, enjoy! Alright, how was it? Did you guys enjoy it? Okay, I hope you did. Well, now I'll be passing it over to the mentor herself, Erina.
Hello there. I'm Nick Erina Aislinn Fathi, and I'll be your mentor for today. From storyboarding to asset creation, everything you need to know about developing Scratch animations, I'll be teaching that to you. So let's hop into it right now. Give me a moment. Alright. So here's my slides. Um, let's hop into the contents. But before we get into the contents that I'll be talking about, I'm just going to preface this by saying that creating animations in this method requires a lot of complex steps, and you probably shouldn't follow these steps if you're going to simply, finish an assignment. It's only meant for, if you're mad lads like me, and you're really willing to go all out and creating an animation in such honestly, a primitive programming language such as Scratch. I mean, not that Scratch is primitive in any way, but because of its nature, which is targeted to beginners, especially kids, and it's only marketed as an introduction to programming, is quite limited. So making an animation in this method is honestly just pushing the limits. Yeah, so I'll be having 4 sections in this lesson. First, which is storyboarding. Second, asset creation. Third, programming. Fourth, final touches. Within storyboarding, I'll be covering how to, essentially create a storyboard and plan out the visual direction of the story itself. Second is asset creation, where I'll be teaching you how to make your own sprites, backgrounds, and other visual elements within the animation, without any need of difficult to use programs and drawing skills. And third, programming, where all the previous elements that we've created will be actually compiled together and compiled together and brought to life. And finally, fourth, final touches, where I'll be covering troubleshooting, how to export your videos so that it's easily accessible, etc. Sections 1, 2, and 3 will take around 15 to 20 minutes, while section 4 will take only about 5 minutes. Alright, so let's hop straight into our first section, storyboarding. Now, what exactly is storyboarding? Storyboarding is like a roadmap, a visual direction of sorts. So it's basically what you're going to plan out, and you're going to plan out how your scenes actually work. You're going to plan out how the scenes look like, what people are in there, a description of the scene. Pardon my mispronunciations and sometimes grammatical errors. I just drained my life making the montage you saw earlier. Anyways, oh right, I forgot to mention. Do you know that the the animation that was shown earlier, the aforementioned animation that was said to be shown in a Great Hall is actually, I consider it quite horrendous and terribly placed. I was on the deadline, so the kind of animations I'll be teaching you how to make will look nothing like that one, since I actually drew all those sprites myself, and you're not going to be going through any of that. But I digress. Let's get into the storyboarding process. So, basically, here's a sample of a storyboard which the moderator and my close friend Sofea Zyra made for the Hari Raya animation last year. So we've got scene number 1, and its location is at the restaurant kitchen, and we've got this girl named Soraya making rendang, where her boss tells her to go home as she is about to miss a flight back to her hometown. And this is what it actually turned into. Alright. Oh, damn it. Okay. So, now I must say that most storyboards are planned out in a... Oopsies, hold on. Okay. So you've got several methods to, make a storyboard. Most storyboards that you'll encounter is actually made in a shot-by-shot basis. But the storyboard that Sofea made for my Hari Raya animation last year was quite simple. We only had it scene by scene, and then it was up to my flexibility to plan the shots however I wanted them to go about. So you've got written storyboards, shot by shot storyboards, shot by shot storyboards, scene based storyboards, and all of these, they offer a different kind of flexibility to the one actually preparing the graphics, sprites and everything, and programming them. Please don't mind the cheesy thing going on here. This is from another one of my projects, but I digress. So, in general, you've got to know what is storyboard. You've got to know, you've got to already have it in your head, and you've got to write out the storyboard because it's very important. I mean, sometimes you might even forego the entire storyboarding process entirely, which I always do, but most of the time, it's quite difficult to find for the person preparing the graphics and actually programming the thing to figure out how the the visual direction goes. So it's better to have a storyboard prepared. Now that I've lectured enough about the importance of storyboarding, let's go ahead and make a storyboard ourselves. So, oopsies, wrong tab. You can have, hold on, my microphone's getting in the way. You can make a storyboard. Let's see. Let's make a storyboard where there's a boy sleeping in bed and he can't reach the elevator light. What? Sorry, please pardon what I'm saying. I mean, he can't reach the switch for the bedroom lights. So let's start off by making a rectangle. My rectangles are just going to be a bit wonky. Please pardon me. Alright, now we've got a few rectangles in place. So during this stage of the process, it's quite important to figure out how exactly you want the scene to do, which is actually entirely on up to your own discretion. It's up to your own to decide. It's up to you to decide how you want it to go, but you get what I mean, don't you? So a lot of people, you might have seen a lot of storyboards having complex drawings and such, which is common in the professional industry since detail and more attention to work is more important there, crucial there, whatever. But for this kind of school level project, I know it's definitely going to be hard to find artists, especially, there's not a lot of artists out there, so chances are when you form your group for the competition, you're going to end up with no artists. So you can honestly just draw stickmen, because the important thing is to communicate the actual flow of the scene and where everything is positioned, instead of focusing on detailed drawings. So let's go ahead and start by drawing some stickmen. So where was we? Where was I? Yes, we were going to make a sample scene with a boy lying in bed he's trying to turn off the lights in his bedroom, but he can't reach the switch. And honestly, it's a very relatable thing. My bed is all the way at the end of my room, and my switch is all the way at my door, and I hate it. But I digress. I keep sidetracking too much. So let's start with our boy. We're going to just draw the stick man, and he's in bed. And this is our funny bed. I keep forgetting that there's no stabilizer on Google Jamboard, so please pardon my wonky wobbly lines. So that's supposedly him in bed, supposedly, but you know, art is a very interesting thing, and people can perceive things in different ways. Chances are, especially if you're not an artist, but even if you're an artist, chances are that people might not be able to understand your work, especially when you're doing very wonky stickman drawings. So it's quite important for you to actually make tiny notes around your storyboard. For example, that's a bed. That's a bed, and that's your character. We'll just call him MC for short, main character, whatever. And here's him, I don't know, making a face about to go to sleep. I don't know, does that look like a face? God knows. But that's irrelevant actually. And here's the wall, and here's the bedroom. I mean, here's a particular switch that's so important. Let's say we can put a cabinet around here. It's honestly up to you. So here's the initial scene where we are planning to have a boy in his bed, and you can see the switch over there. And then what about the scene where it actually shows him trying to reach the switch? You could actually take this scene, redraw it again, but this time the boy is trying to reach the switch or something. I don't know. All my art scenes, all my art skills are out the window. Please pardon me. Nervousness can rob anything from you. And this is why I particularly dislike giving talks, but oh well, I have to do what I've got to do, and please be grateful that I'm sharing this knowledge with you, because I'm essentially butchering my chances of winning the competition. Just kidding. So, this is him actually outstretching his hand, trying to press the aforementioned switch above his cabinet, or something. God knows. So, now that we've got that going, how about we do a close-up of his hand trying to press the switch? And you can go and this is where it kind of shows that he can't reach the switch in this fourth scene. So when he can't reach the switch, I mean, you can honestly, in order to communicate the fact that he can't really reach the switch, you can put some, I don't know, moving things and help communicate. He can't reach the switch! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Waving in vain or something. But you just want him to have a movement like, I can't reach the switch. I'm being so dramatic. Anyways. And then in the final scene, you'd probably have him going, he's just putting his hand down in vain. Sad noises. Sad can't reach. Switch. Noises. And you can have his hand going down. And that's probably the end, because I'm making this a very short scene for demonstration purposes. And so, basically, like I said, people perceive things in funny ways. A lot of people perceive things in funny ways. You can have a person, I mean, it's kind of like that that dress. Do you know that one dress where certain people perceive it, different people perceive it differently? You can have blue and black or white and gold. Was it? I forgot. But in general, people have different viewpoints. People perceive things differently, and that's why descriptions are very important to clarify to the next person that that what it's very important to clarify to the next person what exactly is going on in your scene. So don't do this like me. Do your storyboard properly if you can. I'm in a very rushing motion and I'm probably not explaining everything properly because I am nervous. It's inevitable. But now that we've got this very vague storyboard, you can actually imagine how you can actually imagine how the actual flow is now, the visual direction of things. So now our storyboarding is settled, I suppose. I must mention, you can you don't necessarily have to draw your storyboard on a Jamboard like I'm doing, or on paper like you might have done at school for the Form 1s or when you were Form 1. But there's a lot of different software for storyboarding actually, but I don't do a lot of these storyboarding things, so I don't know about them, but I will mention that there's storyboarding software. So now we are done with storyboarding. Let's move on to asset creation, the one aspect of what do you call it, the aspect of this lesson that I really love. But give me a moment to drink my tea. I am tired of talking. Sadly, I've run out of Earl Grey tea, so the tea that I'm drinking today, I don't really like it. But what can we do about it? I'm too scared to go out either to purchase more tea. So we just have to live with certain things sometimes. But I digress. Let's go on to asset creation. So I'm going to be teaching you how to make your own sprites and your own background, your own characters. So, I mean, all the graphical elements within your animation, I'm going to teach you how to make them yourself without much skill in drawing required. So first of all, why should you actually create your own assets? First of all, it's extremely customizable and reusable. Once you create your own assets, you can do whatever you want to it. You can, if you make a boy, you can freely detach his head if you're trying to make a horror movie or something. Or reusable, you can reuse that one boy that you made in another animation project. And if you don't want to make it obvious, you can actually change up his hair color a little bit or change his height. You can do whatever you want to it. And you can't really do that. I mean, you can, but you have less flexibility when doing that with, my hair keeps getting into my mouth. I hate this. Sorry about that. It's more difficult to do that with when you take pre-made assets. The most frequent one that I see being you guys taking the sprites within Scratch itself and or downloading free PNGs from the web. So if you actually just create your own assets, you can change them however you want, and you can do a lot of diverse things with that. And then second thing is that it improves the viewer's perception of you. Because that also ties in with my third point, which is it's completely original. So these 2 points are related, and by that I mean the viewer will look at your own self-created assets and think, whoa, those assets are original. They're not like anything I've seen. Because if you take an asset from a free assets website, or you take it from an existing source, one of those free PNG shady websites or something, you're going to realize that since that asset is available for free, then that means a lot of other people are also going to use it in your own projects. So let's say you're walking by some place and you see an advertisement, and that advertisement uses the same stock photo as another advertisement. And well, it's not going to be a very pleasant sight to see, is it? I mean, not necessarily that it's pleasant. What are you talking about, Irina? I mean, it's just going to be a bit funny, you know? Haha, that company decided to take a stock photo instead of actually, doing something themselves. Haha, so effortless. I mean, what's effortless? I mean, so lazy or something. So, viewers are going to have the same impression on your own animation if you take one of those freely available assets. And so when you create your own assets, it's completely original. And while originality may not be so important when you're just trying to complete an assignment, like the assignment tells you to demonstrate something, you don't have to go to the length of creating your own sprites, because the point of the assignment is to is to get across that you can do the task of the assignments, but not actually not actually originality. I don't think that has any bearing on your marks for the assignment. But if you're trying to say, enter a competition, or you're going to have this animation for public viewing, then it's better to make all your assets and sprites completely original. And that just basically adds some merit to your animation. So let's dive into the methods that you can use to create your assets. So in order to create your assets, you need a program that can create or modify existing images and separate it into individual parts. And you've got a number of software over here. If you can use Adobe Illustrator, or you can use Adobe InDesign for vector graphics, and go ahead and use them. And you can also use some other raster image programs such as Medibank Paint, Photoshop, Krita, Paint Tool Sai, etc. to create your own assets or actually draw them yourself, then sure. But these three programs and some other programs I mentioned, most programs actually, require a lot of experience to use. So I'm going to be teaching you how to create assets within a very simple program called Google Drawings. But seriously though, Google Drawings, it's a free tool on the web, so it's limited. I'm only going to be using Google Drawings in this demonstration because it's easily accessible. But if you happen to already know how to use Adobe Illustrator, InDesign, etc., then by all means use them. But I'm going to be using Google Drawings for this demonstration. So let's get into it. Here's a weird looking boy that I've created in Google Drawings. Give me a moment, I'm thirsty again. Nice cup of tea. Not that nice, but it's nice, I guess. So we've got this funny boy in Google Drawings. How exactly do you go through the process of creating this boy when you don't really have any art experience? Well, there's a funny way to do it. You can make one from scratch yourself. Put a circle together, and I don't know, I don't have to demonstrate it to you. You can imagine it, right? But let's just say that we're going to do a little bit of funny plagiarism, I guess. So let's go ahead and search free boy PNG. Wait, give me a moment. Hold on. Wait, give me a moment. Something's coming up. I'm going to have to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Alright, sorry about that. Something came up. Okay, we're back. So we've got some free PNGs of a funny boy. Now you'll realize that another reason why I don't want you to take sprites as they are from the internet is because look at these sprites. You've got a number of funny art styles here. You've got this this line and shaded with relatively normal, slightly muted colors. You've got an art style where you've got you've got this lineless art style, and the boy is also drawn in a different way. You've got all sorts of funny art styles, and you can even find this PNG of a boy from a cartoon, which I honestly don't watch cartoons, so I don't know who that is, but I've seen them before. But in general, we've got a lot of funny art styles available here and there. And so it's important, very important, I tell you, absolutely, definitely, importantly, crucial that you maintain a very consistent art style throughout your animation. So that means you have to decide on one style and stick with it. So, for our funny boy here, let's go and take a fairly simple, let's take a look. What do we have here? Let's take a fairly simple, vectorless art style. What? Vectorless? Please pardon my in simple words, please pardon my stupidity. Let's take this funny. Let's take this lineless art style. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this PNG, save the image. And let's put it into Google Drawings. Let's just put this boy aside. We don't need him for now. So, let's go ahead and drag this boy in here. Now, let's start modifying. If you realize, when you take the PNG as is, like I mentioned earlier, you can't modify individual parts of it. So what we're going to do today is we are going to trace this boy. I mean, it's not exactly wrong to trace because the PNG is free. It's going to be a very different story if you take artwork which is not, licensed to be, which is basically, it's going to be very, very, it's going to be very it's going to be a very different story if you take artwork by someone and they explicitly said that you can't use it. But since this is a free PNG thing, available for public use, you can trace this thing. So let's start by making his head. Oh, before that, we are going to lower the opacity of this this PNG, make it basically more transparent so that it's easier to trace upon it. So select this boy, go to Format Options, and click Adjustments. And here you have this transparency slider, so you can bring it up until it's at a fairly visible but at the same time somewhat transparent level. So that's up to you to set it however you want, but I set it at around half transparency. So now that we've got that going, take a shape and make his head. So his head is a fairly simple circle. We're going to go into shapes and take the circle tool here, and we're just going to make his head now. So how does that go? Just make a circle, funny circle, position it so that it somewhat fits his head there. Do 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 do. Alright, there you go. Now you have a horrendous boy with a horrendous face. How are we actually going to fix this so that your boy doesn't have blue skin? Well, first of all, let's remove the border, because even though you can always change the border color to the same color as the fill color to hide it, you're going to come up with a problem when importing it into Scratch later, in which the actual shape will be separated from the border. You don't want that, so let's just get rid of the border entirely and make it a transparent thing. And then you are just going to change the fill color over here up to some whatever color you like. Personally, I've already got this custom color here, which kind of looks like skin, but I don't know, I might lighten that a bit. There you go. So there is your head. Now how are we going to make the hair? Let's put this aside for a bit, this funny head, and let's zoom in. Now, this is probably the only tool that you're going to be using, or one of the only few tools that you're going to be using. You're going to be using it quite often actually, which is the curve tool. Now, it's a bit wonky to use at first, I'll be honest, because I'm actually very surprised that Google doesn't allow you to add or remove vertexes, and it's very disappointing, but what can we do about it? We are just going to click and somewhat trace across the boy's hair to let this curve tool do this thing. You've got to be very careful at places where it bends, because if you accidentally mess up a corner, it's going to end up looking funny, and you might even have cases where the corner goes in funny ways like this or that, and it's not going to look very nice. So be careful. So let's just keep tracing over this guy's funny hair. You don't actually have to follow the PNG closely, because because we're going to make it a very modifiable thing anyways later. So make sure that once that your line meets with the end of your line meets with the start of your line, because then you'll be able to have a shape that fills in. So let's actually change his hair to a color that makes sense, because there's probably going to be no such thing as a boy with blue hair unless he dyed his hair. So well, that's a bit too red, isn't it? It's actually up to you, but I'm just going to use this custom color. So now we have his funny hair. You do realize that this corner is a bit more pointy than the other corners. And this is a bit weird. And this is a bit weird. Everything is weird. So if you're going to, you can actually go back to this selection tool. Select this, actually double click it. And then your line will turn purple and you'll have a bunch of circles. These are all your vertexes, or essentially points that was created when you were tracing over it, and you can adjust it. But like I mentioned before, Google Drawings doesn't allow you to add or remove vertexes, and that is very embarrassing. So if you're a perfectionist, which you shouldn't be, but if you're a perfectionist like this, then you're like, wait, what? I mean, if you're a perfectionist like me, then you're going to have to redo this whole entire thing again. So that's essentially how you create you create your own sprite. Now let me zoom out a bit. Now that I've demonstrated to you essentially how you create a sprite, let's go and wait, hold on a minute. I think I might have accidentally deleted that boy from earlier, the initial boy from earlier, before actually, this is embarrassing, but I think I might have actually deleted that. Okay, we have him back. Nice. So I'm going to demonstrate to you what exactly is the benefit of creating your own sprite. So you have this funny boy in the KYS uniform. When you've got your own individual parts, you can actually make this boy do whatever you want and wear whatever you want. So for example, this is him in the KYS uniform, but you can easily remove that tie, put it aside. You can remove the collar of his shirt, and you can change his shirt to, say, an orange one. See? Or if you want to, then instead of making him a boy, you can actually add on your own shape, using the curve tool again, and you can actually make him a girl, give him a little ponytail like this. It's a very weird looking ponytail, but it's just for demonstration purposes. Please do your thing correctly. Ah, yes. This is what happens if you accidentally don't make the end of your line connect with the start of your line. You're going to have this funny line and you can't fill it in. So please, make it make sense. So you can actually give him a ponytail. It's a very funny looking ponytail, but it's a ponytail nonetheless. So can select this, make it the same color as his hair, and boom, this boy is now a girl. You can do whatever you want with it actually. So that's one of the purposes of making your own sprite. You can, let's put him back in his KYS uniform. Make those sleeves gray. Put back his collar. Put back his collar again. And put back his tie. There you go. He's back in his uniform, I guess. So, aside from that, you can also do a number of other funny things. For example, you can make him raise his hand slightly, or you can make him raise his hand extremely. It's up to you actually. And you can give him eyebrows. You can give him this questionable look for the memes, like this or something. That's a very horrible eyebrow. You can do whatever you want, basically. So now that you've got that, I think I'm spending too long on this this asset creation thing. So let's go over the remaining stuff quickly. You've got a boy. What about you've got a boy. What about creating a background? Let's go ahead and create a new drawing for this. Give me a moment. Never mind. I don't want to expose my Google Drive. Are you done loading yet, Google? That thing will stay spinning for eternity anyways. And my laptop is heating up. It's giving me trauma from all the hours I spent on After Effects making that montage earlier. But how about making a background? If you got a background, say you want to make a little land with a lake or something, then you can create it quite easily actually. Use our favorite best friend over here, the curve tool, and make a funny horizon. Oops, I forgot to close it. Can make a funny horizon like that. Make it green. Remove the border. You can make trees or something, I don't know. But basically you can create whatever you want. The earlier scene that I used for the storyboard just now, where you've got this boy in his bed. Let's make a bed. You can just make the frame of the bed or something. Let's make it a light blue. Get rid of the border. You can take another rectangle for the blanket. Make the blanket white, maybe somewhat grey or something. You can make a pillow over here. Use a rounded rectangle for that. There's a lot of things you can do. Make the pillow white also. Wait. Oh, I'm changing a border color. My pronunciation's out the window. Got a bed. You can make its headboard. Use another rectangle. Honestly, I'm doing this in a very rushed manner because I am horrible at time management, and likewise I'm horrible at managing my time for this session. But you get what I mean, don't you? Right? I mean, even if the headboard's pink, because I do not know what color to choose, but you get what I mean, right? So there you have it, a bed for your boy to inhibit or something. And I see someone in the chat going, how do you draw a cat using shapes? Well, I'm sorry if I didn't realize that question earlier, but how do you draw a cat using shapes? You can just search out a free PNG and trace over it. I can't demonstrate that because I'm running out of time, but I mean, it's not like we humans ever run out of time. I mean, ever stop running out of time anyways. Time is a one resource that we never stop losing, and it's a very sad thing to acknowledge, but we're getting older every second and we're getting closer to our deaths. Call me pessimistic, but I'm actually being realistic. But I digress. So you can create all sorts of things within Google Drawings using all the shape tools. I'll leave that up to your own liberty to explore. Do play around with it if you're going to, try and make assets and stuff. There's a lot more complex things. You can search up tutorials on the internet, but I can't teach all of that to you right now because I'm running out of time. Isn't it sad? Every second we take, every breath we take, we're getting closer to our deaths. Oh well, it's a fate that we have to face. But I digress again. I keep sidetracking. Erina, oh Erina. So now, let's get into the programming aspect of everything. You've got this boy, and what you're going to do is when you're done with your graphics in Google Drawings, you would click on File, click Download, and click Download as Scalable Vector Graphics or SVG. Oops, sorry, I accidentally pressed the button, but yeah, download as SVG. So what will that do? You can later download it as a scalable vector graphic to put in Scratch. So we've got a Scratch project over here, and we are going to upload our newly made sprite. So take that SVG thing. Please please disregard all those funny other files that I have on my Mac. I don't know. Life is weird. But anyways, we've got a boy, and he's a very gigantic boy. He suddenly turned into a giant. So let's scale him down a bit. Select all this funny thing and I don't know, scale him down. Oopsies. So you've got to select all of them at once, because if you don't, you'll end up detaching his head from his body and make him look like a monster. Anyways, now our boy is a normal size. So what can we do with it? Let's say we are going to animate this boy raising his hand. I mean, he already has his hand raised right now anyways, but let's say you want to put his hand in a normal position, then slowly raise his hand. So, how are we going to do that? First of all, let's put his hand in the normal position. It's going to be quite tedious to rotate all these at once. So what you're going to do is just select all these by pressing Shift and clicking, and you can rotate his arm all at once. If you want to, you can actually group them so that they're all as one object. Now, if you realize his hand is on top of his head, so what we can do is we click this backward button to put it back where it belongs, behind the head. Because what kind of person has the shoulder in front of their head anyways? So now that that's done, we've got a boy in a normal position. Let's actually make him stand upright. Poor boy keeps leaning. He has a bad posture. There you go. Maybe he looks a little bit more normal now. So what we're going to do is we are going to slowly animate his hand raising upwards. So we're going to do this in a traditional what do you call it? Oopsies. We're going to do this in your traditional frame by frame animation, where we have this boy in one frame, his hand downwards, and then slowly raising it up with each frame. So when we've got that, we take this boy, we right click on the costume up here and duplicate it, and in this frame we're going to raise it ever so slightly. Repeat the process. Right click, duplicate, raise some more. Right click, duplicate, raise some more. Right click, duplicate, raise some more. That's a bit too much. Right click, duplicate, raise some more. And we're just going to keep doing that until we have a fully raised hand. So when you go through the costumes one by one, you'll have him gradually raising his hand. It's a bit janky because I'm rushing and I'm nervous, but what can we do about it? You better do that with more detail if you want to win the competition. But so now that we've got our boy, how are we going to animate it so that this boy gradually raises his hand? So of course we've got to start with the mandatory when green flag clicked. So this action will trigger upon you clicking the green flag. What we're going to do is look at the amount of costumes we have here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we're going to do is essentially we ask this boy to go to the next costume or next frame and repeat it a number of 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know there's a number of 6 costumes, but the boy's already in its first costume, so he only has to repeat it 5 times to go to the to finish the sequence. My language is all over the place. Please pardon me. So, let's go into let's take this repeat block. Repeat, and then since we've got him we've got him going on to the next costume for a number of 5 times, we put repeat 5 since this specifies the amount of times that you're going to repeat it. And repeat looks next costume. So once you've got that, let's test it out. He raises his hand really fast. So we can make that movement go a bit slower by going back to control and putting like let's say 0.1 second gap between all the movements. So toot, up goes his hand. So one important thing I must mention is that if you keep on repeating this action, you're going to realize that every single time it turns out differently. This is because it starts at a different costume every time. So we are just going to solve that quickly by asking him to start at the first costume each time. And how are we going to do that? Switch costume to boy, which is the first costume. And now you can have him raising his hand every time you click the green flag. But obviously that's a bit boring. What if we want him to lower his hand? Well, okay, let's detach this for a moment. If you want him to lower his hand, so what we're going to do is, you can't ask him to go to the next costume, because when you have your costumes in one single sequence like this, going to the next costume will just bring him back to the beginning again. Instead, you want him to go in reverse order. But how do you do that exactly? Well, I've devised a funny way to do that. Repeat 5 again, but this time we put switch costume to, and then you're going to go down here and take this block called costume number. So switch costume to costume number, and then we are going to take this variable. Is it variable? Yes. Wait, no, it's not. It's operator actually. Here, costume, and so wait. No, it's not this one. It's going to be, yes, this one. This minus thing. So we're going to take this costume number, put it in the left one, and slap this thing in here. So it becomes switch costume to costume number, which is the current costume number, -1. My god, my laptop's fuming. Dear laptop, you must be very angry today. I'm sorry. But yeah, switch costume to your current costume number -1. So after you have this boy raising his hand, you're going to be at the 6th costume, which is the final costume. So when you have it, your current costume number -1, you're going to be at costume number costume number 6 -1. So you go back to costume 5, and 5 -1 go back to costume 4. 4 -1 go back to costume 3. Costume number 3 -1 go back to 2, and 2 -1 go back to 1. See? So that's how you make it go back in reverse order. So let's put our, separator, make it, wait, 0.1 seconds, and there you go. Wait, let's make him switch costume to the last costume. Switch costume to boy 16. There you go. And see, you can make him, lower his hand now, which is great, I suppose. Now, I'm going to tell you that if you've got this boy in several occasions, or you've got a lot of people in several occasions doing the same thing, raising and lowering a hand or whatever you want to do with it, then it's going to be very tedious to copy and paste the same set of instructions each time. So what I'm going to do is let's create our own custom block. This block, we will call it raise hand. So this creates a block called raise hand. So you've got this block called, so what it's going to do is that it's going to put this define raise hand thing into your workspace. And this is when you put the set of instructions that we used to raise hand just now under this define block. So now, whenever you put the block raise hand, when green flag clicks raise hand, it's going to carry out the instructions that you put under the raise hand, under the define raise hand block. So it's just going to automatically carry out. So you only need to put the full set of instructions once, and then later on you can always use this raise hand block that you've created yourself to do the thing. Same thing goes if you make a block called lower hand, and define lower hand, and you put the set of instructions to lower his hand under the define block. So you've got when green flag clicked, raise hand, lower hand. So it's going to go up and go down. See? That's as simple. Not as simple, but it's okay. It's as somewhat simple as that. So, now I'm going to talk about, now that we've got this simple thing of, this simple method of animating a sprite. Not necessarily to raise hand, but you can use the same method to turn his head or something. I don't know, whatever you want to do with it, you can use the same method to do it. So now that you've got this method of animating something, let's talk about the most important thing within the animation, which is the broadcast function. So let's open up my old file of that horrendous Merdeka animation that I made. Which one is it? Is it this one? Why won't Scratch allow me to? Please give me a moment. I have to re-download this stupid. I have to. Damn it. Cover that wallpaper. I've got to get that SB3 thing, that file again from my iCloud drive. This one is Hari Raya. Actually, let's just take the Hari Raya one. Where is it? Yeah, move it please. Okay. There you go. Failed to load? Are you kidding me? Okay, let's open up my Merdeka one. This is going to take a while. There you go. Now, here's how exactly the mechanics of this broadcasting works. So, wait, let's just, you know what, let's clear this funny storyboard frame. Alright. So basically, what does broadcast do? I guess pardon my horrible writing, I'm in a rush. But what does broadcast do? Basically, you're going to broadcast is essentially saying that it's basically sending a message to, I don't know, whatever you want it to send it to. So it's kind of like saying, like, if you have the broadcast block, if you have the, I don't know why I opened up the whiteboard just now, but if you got the broadcast block, say you can broadcast the message, this is a message, broadcast a message, and what you're going to make that sprite send a message. This is different from the message, as in, say, it's not actually going to be shown on screen, but it's kind of like saying, hey, I'm done with this, you can now proceed with this, or something. So when the sprite says a message, then you can use this when I receive this is a message. Then you can ask it to, carry out whatever set of instructions that you want it to do. So for example, I've used this within this, I'm basically asking this sprite to carry out whatever I want it to do, and it will then broadcast the thing and then go and hide, and then you can ask the sprite to receive this thing and then show itself and do whatever you want it to do. So that's basically how the broadcasting works. I'm not that very good at explaining something when I'm in a hurry, but you can use it to do a lot of things. You can do it to You can use it to do a lot of things, but mainly I use it within an animation to, properly lay out the sequence of events. Like once this sprite is done doing this, then this sprite will keep doing that, and then once that sprite is done with doing this, then you can ask the next sprite to do that. And basically it allows you to put things into a step-by-step manner until it makes your full animation. Now let's take this ugly cat. I'm going to take you about I'm going to talk about making smooth and nice transitions now. So let's say you want this cat to fade away. Well, you can do that by using when green flag clicked. Let's zoom in a bit. When green flag clicked, and then you can take this look thing. Now we've got this effect, but we don't want the color effect now. Let's just let's undo whatever we did just now, because now our cat's green. Wait, sorry. Give me a moment. And green flag clicked, and then looks change. Oh well, never mind. Let's just work with this green cat. Now, the one effect that I often use is the ghost effect. And with the ghost effect, you can make your sprites slowly appear or fade away. What this ghost effect actually does is adjust the opacity or the transparency of your sprite. So if I say change ghost effect by 25, then you'll notice this cat slowly fade away into oblivion, just like how we are going to do once we die. People will eventually forget us. Just kidding. Alright, let's change back his ghost effect to 0 so that... Oopsies. Pardon me, I kind of forgot how Scratch works. Here we go. Alright, so basically, how this thing goes is, when you change ghost effect by a number, you're adding the ghost effect. So, the more the number of your ghost effect, the more your sprites will disappear. Meanwhile, if you place a negative sign to subtract it, the more you subtract, the more your sprites will actually solidify and appear again, you know? So, if you want a gradual fade transition, you can't just make the cat just disappear like that. Because that means he's just going to go poof in a second. And while that might be great for magicians, it's not great for us. It's going to look very abrupt. So let's change him back to normal again. Oh, well, what we're going to do is we are going to change it bit by bit. Use the repeat block again. Repeat it by, I don't know how many times you want it to repeat. And change ghost effect by, let's say, a very tiny number, such as 1. And in there, you can wait about 0.1 seconds between, no, 0.0105 seconds. And if you click the green flag now, he is just going to, wait, what? Give me a moment. He's just going, there you go. Wait, let's just put a block here to return him to normal. Let's see, change ghost effect by -100. If you click the green flag, you're going to see him gradually fade away into oblivion. See? It's as somewhat simple as that. So, now that you know how to make a fade transition, let's actually go over how you put an animation together. So, let's take a boy. Where was he? Upload sprite. Boy that SVG. So we've got a boy. Let's make him a normal size again. He's a giant right now. And let's put him in bed, like the scene we described earlier. Oopsies, I accidentally detached him. My bad. So let's put this boy back where he should be. And you can actually, without Google Drawings, you can actually create a bed yourself. You can use the tools available, but I just prefer Google Drawings because it's a bit easier to do and I'm more familiar with it. So let's give him, I don't know, a red blanket. Put a square over him and then put the back of the bed behind him. Wait, let's make that a bit more pinky. What kind of, oh boy, using pink is a very rare sight to see, but you know what I mean, right? And you can actually, you realize that this square is covering the boy, so let's just send that backwards all the way to the back. Don't know what that line's doing there. So you've got him in a very funny bed. You can do that more detailed than I, can you? And let's make the background, which is the background of his room, the wall of it. Why am I all the way over here? Give me a moment. There you go. You can make the background of his room, I don't know, make it whatever color you want. And put it at the back. Oh. Well, Scratch is funny sometimes, isn't it? Isn't it? But you get what I mean, don't you? Right? So you've got this boy in a bed, and our boy has disappeared. Where is he? God knows. Let's try and put him back to where he should belong. And he's gone. Where is our boy? There you go. Scratch is a funny program. Well, that was unexpected. Let's just put that rectangle there to make him stay. I've got no idea how this thing works anymore. It's been so long since I last touched Scratch, but you've got your boy in bed. So let's say the switch is over here. Let's just call that his switch. And you've got a tiny rectangle for the actual switch. Terrible color choices I'm making, please pardon me. So supposedly that's his switch. And you are just going to repeat the entire process of him trying to raise his hand. Let's put the blanket aside. But you are just going to repeat this entire process of him trying to raise his hand and reach the switch. So doot. I mean, I'm too lazy to make the gradual animation in all honesty, but let's just say that his hand extends, because I'm not sure how a more realistic way to make that, but let's just call that for comedic effect. So he extends his hand. So you can make the gradual animation like I've described earlier, but that's one way how you can actually make him extend the hand. So what we're going to do is we are just going to make events, one green flag clicked, and then since we've only got 2 costumes there, so next costume, switch costume to boy 1, the boy, and next costume. So wait 1 second, and there, he just somehow extends his suddenly gigantic hand to reach the switch or something. And we are going to switch into a scene where there's a close-up on the hand that can't reach the switch. So what we're going to do is we are going to broadcast the fact that he is done. Broadcast, I'm done raising my hand to reach the switch, or whatever you want to call it. And now you can trigger the next event. When I receive I'm done raising my hand to reach the switch, you can ask it to actually do the actual close-up. And how does that work? We are going to make this entire sprite big as an impression of a close-up somehow. So how does that look? When I receive I'm done raising my hand to reach a switch, let's see, change size by, you can actually experiment with that. Change size by, I don't know, 100 work? It does nothing. I'll be honest, I have no idea how this thing works. It's been so long since I touched Scratch, and sometimes things are very wonky, I will say. But supposedly changing the size would work, or set size to whatever you want it to do. Supposedly it should work, but I prepared this lesson in a very last minute fashion. But let's go back and take our old animation and investigate how exactly all of that worked. Give me a moment. We're running out of time actually. It's like 12:53 already. That's almost 1. In general, I'm just going to say that when I've got a bunch of different sprites here, and broadcasting will actually, switch between all the sprites and tell these what I want it to do. But in this horrendous animation that I've made, um, let's skip through all of these. Please go faster. I forgot how to operate Scratch. Apologies, there's a call. In general, you see that troops walking animation, and look at the costumes. I've got this thing switching between the different costumes, etc. Oops, I accidentally made him think, but you get what I mean, right? And we've got the background as a separate sprite, and once it's done, it broadcasts to trigger the scene, but we are actually running out of time right now, and I'm so sorry that I couldn't really give a clear explanation, because honestly this entire thing is so impromptu. But in general, I just advise you to try out all these things yourself. And finally, we've got the final touches of this thing. So in general, if you were to save this file to computer, it's going to save as a .sb3 file. If you want to make it into an actual video, you've got no choice but to screen record. But when you're screen recording on a Mac specifically, I don't really know anything about Windows, but if you're screen recording on a Mac, you are going to run into one problem, which is the audio is going to be very scuffed, because the Mac is playing the audio through your speakers, and then your mic is taking it back in, and laptop mics aren't that good, and it's a funny process. So I've actually downloaded this one external third-party application called Soundflower, which you can use to actually take the audio directly. So that's one way which you can actually take the audio directly from the source, instead of in such a roundabout way like that, and make a good recording. And since I'm in a hurry right now, screen recording is basically the only way. Now, what about troubleshooting? Well, you are bound to run into a lot of problems when you're programming your thing. So please actually do make sure to, if you're going to make a repeated action, please make a block like I just demonstrated just now, and instead of duplicating a lot of stuff, because if you're from one and you already watched the lesson that Kak Alin gave, you probably heard her mention, or was it about Omar? I forgot, but you've probably heard one of them mention not to duplicate a lot of things, because it's going to cause a lot of problems. You're going to be very confused, and please keep your number of your amount of sprites and your code and everything. Try to keep it as compressed and as simple as possible. I mean, simple enough, because Scratch is a very limited programming language, and it's going to crash sooner or later, especially if you have a weak laptop that can't really process stuff. Aside from that, make sure to check your code thoroughly, and because you can just find a lot of mistakes everywhere. You're bound to make them somehow, and don't hesitate to ask anyone, be it me or other people who are good in Scratch, if you run into a problem which you can't fix. And just in general, don't give up. It's easy to give up, but just don't give up. So we are way over the limit, and I've been talking for too long. So this probably concludes my very rushed and not well executed lesson. I am so sorry for that. I haven't slept in 40 hours. Well, that concludes my stream, I suppose.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry for the background change, by the way. But since we have no further questions, I guess that concludes our program today. Thank you to the Computer Club Mr. Faisal, and everyone else who contributed to make this session possible. So now we will be ending our session with Sarto As.
Hello, I'm back. So any questions? I bet there's going to be a lot of questions because I didn't really explain everything properly. Or maybe there'll be no questions because there's only
I didn't see
27
any.
people. You're welcome, I guess, to the two comics. Okay, Ujang said, a question from Ujang, it seems. I forgot everything. But I realized a question in the live chat from Ujang that says, how do you make the sun go colder? How do you draw a cat using shapes? I already answered the question in the stream, but just going over it again, you can just take a free PNG of a cat and trace over it and do whatever you want. Now, how do you make the sun go colder? I actually have no idea what you mean by colder, but in terms of making in terms of say you want to make your sun change color to blue or something, even though that's not scientifically possible, but you can basically use the color effect that I accidentally used just now to make my cat go green. You can set it to, I mean, experiment around with it, please. Set it to a funny number and you can actually somehow make your sun or whatever you want to do, make it go blue or some other color that you want. But in terms of actually making a sun go cold, I have no idea how that's supposed to work. I wonder if there's any other questions. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's not worthwhile. At least not in my opinion. How long did it take for me to finish that project? Let's just say that it took me a very long time, about 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not so sure, for that Merdeka animation. But that's because I went through the entire grueling process of drawing all the sprites myself, even though my art skills just gradually deteriorate as I age. But it took me quite a long time. And I didn't know much about Scratch. I still don't know much about Scratch. I've actually forgotten the majority of things about Scratch, but it took me a very long time. Enough for me to go cry in a corner and lament about all the time that I've wasted. Or not wasted. God knows. How is one so talented? Thank you. But disclaimer, I'm not talented. But actually, this thing doesn't really come from talent. I mean, I don't know. Some people don't even believe in talent existing, but talent, it's not really talent. Sometimes you have to gain it through skill and lots of work, and the
It's
most important thing
experience.
with Scratch is experimentation, cause within Scratch, there's a lot of funny things that you can do, and it might not be taught in lessons. In fact, the lessons taught within college, especially during this MCO thing, you're not going to have a lot of lessons about computer programming, and because you're going to run into all sorts of problems and such, and yeah, so. But in general, pray a lot to God. Because if anything, talent and all the other gifts come from God. So you're welcome. And it's not really that good in my opinion. It's terrible, but thank you. While waiting for questions, let's see. Oh,
So, Hannah Sufia,
what
what is the
is
hardest project that you made?
what is the hardest project that I made? If we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about within Scratch, it's that horrendous Medica animation. It's quite embarrassing to think that I took about 2 or 3 weeks just to make such a horrendous, horribly paced, terrible, absolute garbage kind of project. But in terms of outside Scratch, um, the hardest project I made was for Codex last year. um, it was a budgeting application. Like it had quite a lot of functions, and I made it using Python and HTML and CSS. And let's just say that I lost a lot of sleep, and I had big bags under my eyes, trying to make that project. So yeah.
Any more questions?
One man's trash is another man's treasure. Well, you're not wrong, actually. We all tend to perceive ourselves in funny ways. A lot of people are quite critical of themselves, but some other people can think it's absolutely amazing. But personally, I think I'm a garbage person, but what can we do about that? At least me thinking of myself as garbage kind of drives myself to improve, to make myself not so garbage anymore. So, yeah, one man's treasure is another man's treasure. You've got a very wise statement over there.
Any plans for the future? You know a lot about Scratch. What do you think?
I I don't know a lot about Scratch. I mean, while I did show some functions that weren't usually demonstrated in um, lessons, but that's still barely scratching the surface about Scratch. As limited and as primitive and as kid friendly as Scratch is, or I mean targeted toward kids that Scratch is, it's also if you really push your capabilities with Scratch, then you can do a lot of interesting things with it. So about the any plans of the future thing, um, my one plan for the future is to never touch Scratch again. Well, the reason for it is that I honestly don't have anything that I plan to do with Scratch, and a lot of my interests are focused on other things. Mainly, I'm trying to learn After Effects right now, which was used to make the video that I lost slept over, which was shown at the beginning of the stream. But yeah, I wonder if your hand cramped from drawing all those
Sure, it
sprites
did.
and importing them into the program itself from Natsira B. Nice razor with cat ears profile picture you've got over there.
Wow.
Interesting. But did my hand cramp? It's more than my hand. It's my entire arm that cramped. Maybe even my will died a little bit inside. Not a little bit, a lot. If anything, that was completely not worth my time making that animation. Maybe it was to other people, but for me, I could have done it in much more efficient ways. So yes, my hand cramped, everything cramped. I just felt pain all over. Life is like that. I mean, that's not even the biggest of challenges that you're going to face. As you grow up, more responsibilities keep coming onto you, and you're going to encounter a lot more problems in the future. And but what can we do about it? We can only learn to adapt. Cause yes. Whoa, you know Genshin? Oh, whoa.
Yes, we
Yes,
do.
I do. I am, yes, Sofia does as well, actually.
Yep.
I am adventure rank 55 right now.
I'm
um,
48.
yeah, and I've got the Raiden Shogun. Actually, Sofia does as well.
Yeah.
Ah, all right. So I guess this ends the question and answer session, I guess, because we are way over time. I
Yep.
don't think there's any other questions that people want to ask because there's only 27 people. So we've got the social media over here. We've got
Mm-hmm.
so make sure to follow KYS College Yayasan Saat Melaka on all the social media and Facebook at on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Telegram. We've got their respective names shown at the bottom of the stream here.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose this concludes our session. Thank you for
Yep.
viewing this badly planned and badly presented session by me. I honestly messed up a lot, but hey, it's experience, isn't it? At least I know how to, manage things a little bit better after this. I hope that despite my messy management, you managed to learn one or two things from here.
Mm-hmm. All
Anything to
right.
say, Sophia?
Nope, I have nothing to say.
All right.
All right then. I guess that's the end. Let me just go here real quick. All right. As I said earlier, uh, we shall end this session with Surah to Us. All right. Bye.